Good afternoon, Blues. Everton holding Aston Villa to a goalless draw this afternoon. Was it a frustrating point for you, or was it a really good point? I'm here to talk through the action with Basil. Basil, obviously, we've been watching the game together, and we're doing a very good job at making it look like we're in different rooms. You are in a different part of the house, after all. But yeah, was that a forgettable match, or do you think it was a good point for Everton? By the way, your microphone is off.
It's a good point for Everton there. But as you say, yeah, it was pretty uneventful, unforgettable. Adds to Everton's 0-0 draw at Palace the other day. Now we follow that up with another 0-0. But the only way I can view it at the moment is that we lost 3 on the bounce in the league, and we're gonna have to hit some better form sooner or later, and a point against somebody second in the league is not a bad result. So I think it's something to build on. And the cup game in midweek, I think we should get through them based on what I saw down at Palace last week. And then I think we've got Fulham. So I think we can start to build some momentum off this. Yeah, we could have got the 3 points today, but so could Villa with their chances. So it wasn't the best spectacle for the neutral. There was an awful lot of stop-start play, wasn't there? A lot of head
There
injuries,
was.
so much stoppage time. It was very difficult, especially in that second half, to get any flow about the game. Nobody really made any chances in that second half. I think first half did have some chances, but neither side took them.
No, and we'll start with obviously from the beginning. Obviously, the team news was Coleman was playing, I think it's 355th match, which takes him above Leon Osman and Tim Howard as Everton's all-time Premier League appearances. So, congratulations to Seamus, and he showed that commitment today. And Everton were a bit battered and bruised throughout. I mean, it was a typical performance as of our side, but the big thing obviously was McNeil was fit to make the bench, which I think was really good news. And then obviously Decore was really the headline coming back into the side. Did that help Everton in their quest to press early, David?
I think it naturally did, and I think there's no coincidence that the upturn in slot result, getting a positive result comes on the back of Decore coming back in the squad. I mean, it remains to be seen how that affects us over a course of matches, but I think he's just getting back into the game. He's missed 4 or 5 games, and so he'll have to get up to speed, but he did seem for some parts of the game quite sharp. He wasn't quite 100%, I felt, but he was, like his runs in the latter parts of the game, the one where he scored the offside one, like shows he does have energy in the latter stages of the game at the moment. So he was quite fit, and I think he just offers us so much as a link up between that striker and the midfield. When he's not playing, Calvert-Lewin looks so isolated. So I think
Like
he
a
does
gaping
help.
hole, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like a huge hole. So I think that helped. And Everton started quite well, didn't they, for about 10, 15 minutes. And
Oh,
then
we're
it
having
just
our lunch.
fell off.
Yeah, I think that they did seem to start quite well, but then it felt like we'd lost our way a little bit in that first half. And Villa, I mean, the big talking point from that first half, and there's not a hell of a lot of talking points on this match, but was obviously the
The
goal, the
goal.
disallowed goal. It was Moreno. It was a wonderful finish, but in the build up to that, I think you called it at the time. It was kind of a bit obvious. Don't know why it takes 4 minutes for them to check for that VAR, because it was kind of obvious. I think that's the first time I can remember Everton having a VR decision go for us. If anyone's watching, the comments are starting to come through, and if you've just joined us, please welcome and comment. And it's great to see you, great to have you. I know people coming out Goodison, but can you remember a VAR decision that has gone for Everton recently? What do you think about the 4 minutes, David? I mean, it seemed quite obvious for me. You pointed out during the game that we must have the technology to kind of automate this now.
Yeah, but offside is offside. So I have to take this one slightly separate to a lot of the decisions have gone against us, but they've been more subjective, like the red cards and penalties and stuff. these ones where it's offside, I just don't understand it. I mean, that was the right decision. But I
Mm,
mean, Dan Boomer does get tugged, and that stops him from getting back because he's running back with the players to keep them offside. But because he's tugged to the floor, he nearly keeps them onside. And that would have counted as a goal, and it would have just been outrageous. That would have been
mm.
more questionable, but it was offside slightly. Yes, I think
Nice
the
finish though.
technology
I mean,
is there.
I kind it's spoiling football in my opinion, but it'd be good to get your other views. That said, I
Yeah,
think that
we- you
this
probably
meant that Everton weren't a goal down going into this match, going to the second half.
would you have the same result today if without VAR? Would you have had the two goals? We saw two goals. They were both slightly offside. I think Villa's was not quite as offside as our one, but
Mm,
if you let the game flow, you just
mm.
would be more enjoyable, wouldn't it? Really. But
Yeah,
I did say the automation of the offsides. When is that going to come in? Because the ball has a sensor in it. The players were sent. They wear like vests, or I don't know, in their boots they could have a sensor, and then the pitch is marked out, and there's some sort of camera, and it
mm.
just detects when the exact moment the ball is played and the exact moment where the players are on the pitch, and maps it, and then tells you. And then we don't have to stand around drawing lines.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the World Cup, I think they've used technology with the actual ball having chips in it and things like that. I'm sure they've got more technology. It's just a question of rolling it out. Anyway, back to the game. And of course, Villa, who are very high flying in the league and are now a couple of points behind Liverpool and level with Man City, missed out on a chance to close the gap on the leaders with this match. And actually, it was their manager, Emery's first goalless draw in, I think, 97 games. It kind of had that sense of it being a draw from the start. There were many that predicted that, including me, although I must admit mine was a 1-1. But there was kind of a sense that Everton were going into this with a need to kind of turn around their league form, but at the same time facing a very good opposition when we looked at that Villa lineup. And then as the game wore on, I think that there was a sense that Everton grew into the game and maybe Villa wanted the point. There was another big talking point in the second half, David. I don't know whether you saw it, but there was kind of a foul from Mikalenko on one of the Villa players, and he doesn't go down, and then Tarkowski goes in quite heavily. And I've just watched it back a bit earlier and before we came on, and I do think that Villa should have had a penalty at that point. Did you see the incident?
No, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
We'll
I
have a
do
look at
remember.
that back.
I
If
do
you've watched the
remember
game, whether you watch it
that.
on Sky Sports or whether you're at the game, it'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on it. Basically, Mikalenko does clip the Villa player. I didn't. I must admit, I didn't pay so much attention to it during the game, but watching it towards the end of the game
I
after the
I
game had
don't
finished.
I don't love this is a separate tangent, but I just don't love the idea that penalties are given for fouls. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but the way I view a penalty is it's like a very high chance of scoring a goal. And if you have to be like taken out for a reason. It can't just be like you're going away from goal and somebody like accidentally clips the back of your heel. If I was looking at football, I'd completely change that. But I'd make it
Mm,
if it's actually going to create a chance or a goal, it's a penalty.
mm,
But if it takes your hand and it's going away from goal anyway, or it's going out for the shot's going well wide, why give it as a penalty? I find that really hard to come to. But anyway,
yeah. Anyway,
maybe
going
that's
back
just
to the game, just shortly
don't get.
after that, I mean, Everton, I felt it wasn't a great game for the neutral, but it was one of those where I think we kind of were a bit disjointed throughout this game, but there was a very, very big chance that we had. And he's not going through a good vein of form at the moment when it comes to this. He doesn't give me the confidence that he's going to tuck it away. But Calvert-Lewin, he's through on goal. Do you want to talk me through it?
Yeah, I think it came slightly out of the run of play. I think once the Villa goal was disallowed, you actually think Everton are going to try and get a foothold back in the game that they had. But actually, it was Villa who were on top for about 20 minutes and seemed to just find out how to play against us. But then against the run of play, it's a good ball played in behind. Calvert-Lewin latches onto it, and he's quite quick. Calvert-Lewin, he's through towards the keeper. He's not going to be caught. There's a good second extra time from the defender to Calvert-Lewin. You're thinking just slot it in the corner, either side, just pick your side. Hits it basically at the keeper. I just can't understand it. Can you? If he's going to
Not
miss it,
really. I mean, I wanted him to really sort of shoot, feint to score, and round the keeper and slot it home. It sort of,
Mm,
I mean, the plus points were, I think it was Garner that played him through. It was a beautiful through ball. It's very pleasing on the eye when you see that, because it's not something that we see an awful lot. He latches onto it, as you say, he does run beyond the defender, so he's not going to get caught. And it's almost like he has too much thinking time.
mm.
And I said to you at the time that I felt Beto would have scored that. You just wouldn't know. I don't think that the Portuguese had a look in after he came on in the second half. But maybe he will get an extended run,
He
perhaps
could have
starting on
scored
Wednesday
it.
after this basis. But it's massively disappointed. I mean, it would have been hugely against the run of play for us to go in 1-0, but we probably would have been able to have a real backs against the wall and hold on to that. And I think
Mm,
Calvert-Lewin now hasn't scored something in 9 games. Need to check that stat,
yeah.
but it's not good. He wasn't great against Palace and was given a lot of leniency because it wasn't sending off for me. I mean, I've spoke to some other fans of other clubs talking me through with the foots up and all that, but if you start watching everything in slow-mo, then everything's a sending off. But yeah, it's not going well. Aside from that, there were chances that fell for Villa. I mean, they'll probably look at this as chances missed. Duran Duran and Duran. It was Duran. There were a couple of chances for him. It was really all falling to Villa in this match in terms of, I can't remember too many clear-cut
Mm.
chances for Everton.
No,
We just didn't really have an awful lot of it.
Everton really struggled to actually make shooting opportunities. They did get down the sides and play balls back across the face and into the 6-yard area. And, they did create things, Everton, but the final ball didn't go anywhere near to a player. It didn't get latched onto. The crossing wasn't that accurate. I think they got in the positions and then wasted it in the final third. And I think what's telling is the 2 shots on target that Everton did have were all in that transition where Calvert-Lewin runs through, has the first shot, and then James Garner arguably has the better shot from the edge of the box, and that was our only 2 shots on target the whole game. Obviously, those other 8 shots, I can barely remember any of them, but
No.
if you count like a tap from Mikalenko, who was offside and stuff like that, then they're just not really real chances. So yeah, that's one thing that needs to improve moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's entitled to an off game, and obviously 3 league defeats and not fantastic form towards the end of that year. This year we've got a couple of goalless draws. It was scrappy today, and it wasn't the best spectacle. Obviously, you could see there it was cold, it was raining, it was hard. But I think Everton approached it almost with a rugby-like mentality. I think we've left the pitch with scars and with headbands and with that we really put a shift in. And sometimes the quality isn't there, Basil, but the commitment seems to be there from the players, and I think that really is quite key in terms of our ability to kind of keep pace with those sides in the kind of sort of second half of the season, but keeps pace with those sides above them in Forest. And obviously Luton around. They played the game last. They're a point below us. It remains to be obviously seen whether we're going to get any of these points back. But yeah, Villa had a lot of the ball. What your comments? We'll start going through them. But yeah, if you just joined us, maybe just come out of Goodison. We know how bad the signal can be coming out of Goodison ourselves. And it's worth saying that Basil, you could have been at the game, and well, we could have both been at the game, but obviously other commitments sometimes come first, and that's why we are. Big shout out to all our regulars who are joining this stream, and obviously if you are watching the game with friends and family, make sure that you like and subscribe, follow Everton as we seek to get as many subscribers as there are in Brandymore Dock. So that's all good. But yeah, all good to see the regulars come on. Eugenie, Peter, David, Mark, Rod, all the regulars. Mark says, he says, "See, Stevie, it missed off with DCL could have been the winner." I think that's the key here. Is yeah, we could have nicked it, but we wouldn't have deserved to nick it. Really, I mean, come on, Villa played, they played average by their standards. We kind of stifled them and didn't really give them a chance, really. But obviously there are no games next weekend, so that kind of made us think, oh, maybe we need to try and get something more. I think that would have been greedy at the end of the day. 100 minutes and we created 2 shots on target. One was a great chance, the other one wasn't. I mean, Fatwaller, it's controversial. It says we're actually a very poor team, big chances. Seamus is awful. I mean, yes, I do agree with you in a sense that 20 minutes of play, we play decent, and it's got to be scoring sitters. But Everton are not that poor team that we've seen in the last 3 years. They are an improving work in progress side that have been managed well. You have to remember McNeil didn't start, and he's probably been the most influential player. And you were talking about partnerships, Basil. You particularly like McNeil with Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I just think it works better tactically to have McNeil's crossing ability from that left with Calvert-Lewin. I don't know if Danjuma and Calvert-Lewin really have the relationship, whereas when you've got the likes of Beto on the pitch, you've got that more like the link-up play, and you want to play a 1-2 and run in behind, and they're both pacey. I think it's just a different game, different styles of play, and it should be utilised, ways of hurting the opposition. If it doesn't work one way, you try other ways. You can't just be narrow-minded.
Yeah, Emma. Hi, Emma. She says she doubts that we'll see Danjuma in an Everton shirt.
I'm
There's some
surprised
talk
he
about the Dutchman possibly moving on in this window. I don't know who else, if anyone, we've got lined up to come in, but we haven't got the biggest squad in the world. Can we cope without the likes of Danjuma in the squad at the moment? Has he got anything to still add? What have you made of his performances in recent games? I mean, he's not always had the full 90 minutes, has he?
No, I think he hasn't really had a run of games. He's to get consistency. Can be a bit greedy, but he's shown flashes, especially against Spurs. He should have really scored. At Palace last week, he had a good chance, nearly through on goal, but he nearly scored. I think he can. He has the potential, but I don't know how his confidence is right now. All the talk about going to Lyon, and it was odd to see him play today. It really was, because of this loan deal, but obviously no McNeil. So someone's got to play. I don't think we can afford to get rid of him until we bring somebody in. No Dobbin on the bench, if I remember today. So I just don't know. I was looking at the bench. I was thinking when it got to 70 minutes after we'd made
Robin
our
was
first...
on actually
He was.
day, but along with Keane and Gomez, Godfrey,
But
Trinity,
who's there to put on?
and
Like Villa,
Patterson.
Villa can make changes and
Well,
they can freshen.
Villa have got a very nice side there, and that's partly why they're doing so well. Also, they're well managed, well organised, and we're kind of turning a corner from a sort of chronic mess that had been left behind from too many managers. Lots of players jumping on the Calvert-Lewin bandwagon. Lots of different language being used, some of which we probably don't want to repeat, so we can keep it kid friendly. Peter says he was always crap at 1-to-1s. Yeah, I mean, look, Calvert-Lewin, you're not going to put your house on him to finish a 1-to-1, but if you want someone in the box from a nice header, he's one of the top ones you'd want in the league, and he doesn't have that aura that he's going to slot home, which is unfortunate. But it might be a game. It might be something that just turns around. At the moment, it just isn't. It isn't really working from him, but not for effort. He is putting in the shift. It's just not really finishing. And if he's playing on his own, it's got to be a matter of time before Beto gets given a chance. I'd be surprised, Dave, that if Beto doesn't start on Wednesday.
Yeah, I imagine he will start Beto. it's hard to know who he'll play. Whether he'll play Danjuma depends if he looks to get a loan elsewhere. I don't know.
This
I
is an
don't.
interesting comment about playing them together. What's your view on that?
I just think DCL's not in form right now. His confidence is low. He struggled at Palace to hold the ball up. He shouldn't have been on for 80 minutes. Red card, whatever, but he shouldn't have been on the pitch when he did that tackle. So that's the manager. He's got to look at that, and he's got to use them more effectively, because he's guaranteed to start every game, but he's just not really doing it for me at the moment. Maybe it was Decore being out, but I didn't think he was amazing today either. So, but then Beto came on and barely touched the ball, got no service. I just think on a wider note, we just have to look a bit more. We have to be a bit more clever sometimes with the ball. Like today, we get the ball out the back, the goalkeeper or throw in, pass it one, and then like we'd slow it down so much that Villa are onto us, got to pass it back, and then it gets lumped forward. It either goes out wide, or the ball goes back to their centre back. So it just doesn't go. It just not runs for us. So the ball keeps coming back, and Villa just had more chances. Don't be so wasteful with the
They
ball.
had a
You
lot of
have
chances. I mean, there were a lot of between me and you. There was a lot of
near
you
miss.
know, heart in the mouth time. We're probably under exact. There was a lot of chances that Villa had in this game where you felt like that was lucky. We're in the game, we stay in the game, but we're playing this down a little bit. Villa could probably say that they battered us and just didn't find the clinical finish that they needed.
But
Barry
at the same
says
time,
we should maybe sell well, actually says we should sell DSL. I don't think we're in a position to sell any of our players, even if they're not finishing the ball. I mean, the good thing about this season is the goals have been shared amongst the other players, with other people chipping in. As I said earlier, it was kind of a rugged performance from Everton, and they should be drawing some rugby lines on Goodison Park after this match. But Tarkowski kind of epitomised that, David. I mean, he didn't start wonderfully well. Was caught out of position a couple of times, but then kind of made up for it. And he was putting his foot in, and he got booked down at the Gladys Street in front of the paddock in that corner for what looked like a good tackle. Peter agrees with that. Yeah, I mean, I think the referee just kind of always ends up giving both the player who's involved and the opposition a booking, but it sort of was a bit of a melee towards that end, and it was getting a bit heated. Maybe some frustration from both sides.
I don't know what the cards were for. I don't know. Did the Villa player even do anything? I mean, it was a bit of an altercation, a few words and a thing, but there was very little in it. And I don't think it was really. Tarkovsky seemed to he put the tackle in, and then he just seemed to walk away with. He might have said a few words. It's not like he was running into a big crowd and arguing with them. And the card came out of nowhere, and it was like, well, why did he get the card? Because and you could kind of lip read Tarkovsky saying he's pulling me.
Yeah, of
Because
course. I mean, the Everton defenders, particularly Tarkowski and Coleman, are becoming exceptional at being vocal at the ref. They're kind of surrounding the ref, but I still don't feel like we get an awful lot from any of this. Gary and Peter and others have said that they're very happy with the goal, with the draw today. Sorry, and Villa being so-called title contenders, perhaps along in the same frame as the likes of Arsenal, to challenge Liverpool and City. Although we've just had some news that Højlund has scored at Old Trafford, so they're leading Tottenham by a goal to nil. I actually expected Tottenham to win that game, but that's another matter. And obviously, we'll keep this one short because there's people that want to watch the second of the Super Sunday games. But if you just joined us, Everton goalless against Aston Villa at Goodison Park, our second consecutive goalless draw, with the other one obviously in the FA Cup. The replay's coming on Wednesday, 7:45 kickoff at Goodison. I think there might be some tickets still available for that game if you're interested. And hopefully we'll get behind the side and see our pathway into the fourth round of the FA Cup, where a home draw awaits if the Blues can dispatch Crystal Palace. Keep your comments rolling in. We know that a goalless draw is not always the most exciting thing to be chatting about. But we do value everything that you put forward, and obviously our team. We have some still at Goodison Park coming out where signal's quite poor, and a big shout out to all our regulars who join us after every single match. But yeah, Everton. Well, scrap to a point today. It was goalless, but it's a point in the quest for safety if you're really thinking about that. And Everton now play 21 matches with 17 points, obviously after the 10-point deduction. Had they not had the deduction, they would be 12th right now above Bournemouth. And I think the news on that case has got to come soon, right? Dave, do you know the deadline of when we actually might find out whether is it in the next month or so? Did they say January, or was that just a submission?
It's not what I've heard. As far as I'm aware, they were told they would have a result by the end of the season. But what does that mean? We don't want a result on the last weekend of the season. It's
No,
typical.
absolutely not.
We'd
That would be
probably get.
unfair to Everton and also unfair to those other sides around us. If you're curious as to know where this leaves the Blues, just a point above Luton, who have a game in hand and mixed form. Although Everton are now 2 points below Brentford, who've lost their last 5. Nottingham Forest sit above Brentford in 15th with 20 points. A gap is sort of starting to develop now. But it's been one of those funny seasons, David, where almost any game you could say, yeah, anyone can take points off everyone. I think City could have easily lost yesterday. Like, literally, I don't think you can call many of these games in the Premier League. But yeah, I think that Gary's verdict for all the teams is tomorrow for the next financial verdict. Okay.
Oh,
Well, I
this
don't
is in
think.
regard to the next period. So they're
Oh, right.
looking into.
Okay.
Yeah, they're looking to see if there's any further punishment for some of the clubs.
If you look at the sides around Everton, Luton have a minus 14 goal difference, Burnley 21, and Sheffield United 34. And Everton kind of stand out with just a minus 4 goal difference. So they've got the best one out of really the bottom half. You have to go up to Newcastle, who Wolves have a better goal difference than Everton. But I mean, a point against Villa, who, if you look at where they are in the league, just lost 1 in the 5, and they are pushing. And at one point, they were kind of really right at the very summit, but now it's tight at the top. It's not really our business, but it closes the gap a little bit on Liverpool. And obviously, Tottenham have still got work to do against the other side, Man U. So yeah, I mean, we're going to kind of finish off because there's a lot of people that want to watch the game at Old Trafford, and also catching up on what's been going on in other sports. But yeah, in terms of this game, Everton obviously taking a kind of, I would say it deserved, but maybe the battling qualities of Everton have allowed us to kind of take a point where in previous seasons we would probably have gone down like a pack of cards. The VAR decision to rule out the goal on 25 minutes from Villa, and obviously Everton did put the ball in the net through for Decore, but that was kind of a very obvious offside.
We've played better than this and lost the game this season with late goals that have gone against us or own goals. So I think you have to take this one against quite a good side. I don't know about the top side, but they are a really good side, a really good outfit who will win more games, probably win 50% of their games, or more. So this is a real tough fixture, and I think naturally a bogey team for us. Yeah, we did have we were tight with the offside, and we had the chance through on goal. So I think you could argue we were in the game and we were worthy of a point, and Villa also had the chances and could have easily just snatched one at the end. So I think both teams will take the point. Villa will edge just a point more at the top there, and I think Everton will edge, and I think neither team really wanted to lose it.
Yeah, I think that there's an element where a draw definitely suits the two players in this case, two teams in this place, and of course, it wasn't one of those games where I think we're going to look back and go, that was the game that was kind of pivotal, or that was the most exciting game in the season. But well done for the Blues for battling out and obviously for keeping a clean sheet. Only just obviously due to the VAR. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell your mates, and be with us on Wednesday night when Everton tackle on Crystal Palace at Goodison Park under the lights. And this is a chance for Everton to seal the passage to the 4th round of the Football Association Cup. We look forward to seeing you then for preview on Tuesday and then the match on Wednesday with candid post-match reaction from our team. From me, from Basil, from the team at Follow Everton, we hope you have a great weekend and up the Toffees. We'll see you on Wednesday.
The Toffees.